Alright folks, today we are doing a review on an Air75 from BetaFPV. I'd like to thank them for sending me a BNF to play around with and review. Let's pull it out of the box and see what we got here. Obviously we got the Air75 whoop, which we will talk about in detail in a second. Comes with a spare air canopy for the analog camera, adapter for connecting the flight controller to your computer, which is USB to a wiring harness, spare props and motor screws, and that's honestly about it in the box. So if you're expecting Lipos, you probably want to get a set of your own or have it ready. So let's talk real quick about the flight controller on this sucker. I've reviewed the 75 Pro before, and that one used a Matrix 5-in-1. This one is rocking an Air 5-in-1 flight controller. It's a lot lighter than the Matrix. It uses an SH connector in the back for plugging into your computer, so that's a lot lighter than using the conventional USB that most flight controllers were using before. No motor plugs, so that means the motors are directly soldered onto the flight controller. Still using the MCU is now the G4, so it's kind of nice that a lot of flight controllers coming out these days are using that instead of the old F411, so good riddance to those. Built-in serial ELRS receiver and built-in VTX that goes up to 400 milliwatts. So right out of the box, I did flash this the ESC, the Blue Jay ESC firmware from 0.19 to 0.21, so it's the running the latest. And same thing with the ELRS receiver. I flashed the latest with that. Can't really remember what the top of my head what that one was. Uses a CO3 analog camera, which I've used before on the Pro 75, and that's very good for an analog camera. But that's housed on this air canopy, which I will talk about later, as there's some issues that I had with it. Out of the box, I did flash it with Quicksilver, dropped in my own tried and true PIDs that I used on my HD builds, and gotta say it was quite awesome. People did say that when they flew this, it flew kind of like a 5-inch. I've never flown a 5-inch, so I don't know how, I can't really attest to that, but I can say it flew really good for how small it is, super nimble and really locked in. The combination of a 450 mAh lava lipos, the Gemfan 1610 biblades, and the 0802, I don't know if you can see it, but the 0802 23,000 kV motors on this gave me about 3.5 minutes of really hard acro, which is bloody awesome because I can do a lot of practicing out of that with that amount of time. It weighs less than a 65 millimeter whoop from like half a year or two ago. So let's grab a scale real quick and see exactly how much it weighs. And should be pretty amazing actually. I think it's probably about 21.05 grams. So that is really light for a 75 millimeter tiny whoop. So pros of this bind and fly: ultra light for 75 whoop, really quiet, really efficient. We already saw that with 3.5 minutes of flight time. Good range with the built-in ELRS and 400 milliwatt capable VTX. Cool thing is you can actually fly about 2.5 minutes off a 300 mAh 1S Lipo. And then, like I mentioned before, 3.5 with the 450. Probably get like 4.5 with a 550. So really fun, locked in, great out of the box. Cons do I have to say about this, and I'll post some pictures, but the air canopy on this thing I've broken 3 times already, and they all pretty much broke in the same spot around here. So I probably would recommend a better canopy, like maybe a 3D printed one that's a lot more sturdier. Frame is solid, light, but it's not bulletproof either. I've broke the ducts a couple times on here. This one's doesn't show here, but I had to fix it a few times, and the flight control posts are prone to break. I think I broke one in the back on one and one in the front on one. So be aware of that. Oops, my son's little watch there. You will need some soldering skills to do maintenance on this. So, like I said, the motors are directly soldered onto the flight controller. Other things to note too, though, is the type of light post that it could take. Lava light post, no problem. I think the 450 tattoos will fit no problem as well. But the older tattoos that had the lead on them will not probably fit. Dog comms, I think, won't fit. They're a bit fat. Same thing with the, I forgot what these called, CNHLs. These probably won't fit as well. They're chunky, too fat. So, but I recommend the lava lipos anyways. They are great for any 1S builds. Pro tip, for those that broke their flight controller, or the post on the frame, probably recommend maybe having, if you have M2 screws lying around that are about 8 millimeters long, you can screw through and all the way through to the bottom. That would be more than enough to keep it secure. I've done that for 2 of my builds, and it's been holding strong. Some tweaks and improvements that will help with this, especially for shaving weight. Obviously, the easy ones, replacing the motor screws with plastic nylons. That will shave a bit of weight. Replacing the dipole antenna with a circular polarized antenna, like a what do you call it? True RC Singularity is my go-to, so you can get one of those. And definitely swap the canopy for a better one. So all in all, BetaFPV's Air75 is super fun, super light, and flies fantastic. Very capable for indoor and outdoor flights. Of course, the lightweightness of this means a little bit of a breeze or a wind will affect its flying. So be aware of that. I mean, there's a few tweaks to make this a killer 75mm whoop ripper, like maybe Quicksilver, my favorite go-to, and definitely replacing this canopy for something else. And that's about it. I mean, thanks again to BetaFPV for forwarding me a build for me to test. It is wonderful to fly around, definitely. I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants a ducted tiny whoop. Probably more so this than a 65 because of how efficient it is, and the fact that it can use 300 mAh 1S lipos, and you get like ridiculously good flight experience out of that. So hit the like button if this helped. Drop a comment if you've flown one or are thinking about picking up one. And again, folks, happy flying, and see you on the next one.